So, I was, well, if you're thinking about the Rabbit Luigi countdown, that's still coming along and everything. I've got the script down and everything, so I'll start getting a preview of it here in about a day or two or something. But today, I'm going to cover something very interesting, and well, I don't know, I've been kind of taking a liking to these vlogs a little bit, just wanting to share a little bit about just my experience with video games, and I love video games. I love a lot of things that they do to contribute to the media, and I talked about this a few times in countdowns or something, but they really have shaped my life for the better because there's just so much wonder and joy inside of them, and they relieve your stress, they're fun, and you know what, you can do a lot of stuff inside them that you can't do in real life. That's a lot of things to be excited for with them, and the reason I wanted to bring up the topic to this video is that ever since the internet has been coming out, there's been a lot of debate or something about a lot of questionable things that have been going on in video games, and unfortunately, because you get a lot of people together, you get a community together, the internet likes to just get together or something and start to gossip, or they start to talk about a lot of things in video games, and well, unfortunately, that just, when it comes to video games, when a lot of popular choices start coming around, a lot of things just kind of start sticking with video games, and sometimes even for the worse or something.
Like,
if you look
SFC
at my,
will only be bought by hardcore fans is part of that tweet I quoted at the top of this episode, and it speaks entirely to the myopic nature of this excluding sentiment. Because the invincibility mode, it's an answer to the idea that only hardcore fans would buy it. Now there's a chance other people will get into it too, and they'll have a chance to enjoy the game in a way that facilitates their progress and potentially get turned into new hardcore Star Fox fans. And that's a good thing. The more people playing and buying games is a good thing. Diverse audiences and a responding diversity of games to choose from is a good thing. A world of options and different flavours shouldn't be scary, and yet it is to some people, and that's just sad. Nobody's making you have hot gay sex in Dragon Age. Nobody's making you play Gone Home. Nobody's making you use an invincibility mode. You get to play any game you want in a way that makes you happy. Why the fuck aim to deprive others of the same? Probably because you're a prick. Sorry, but that's the blunt, short answer, mate. You're being a prick.
if you look at my top 18 favorite Zelda dungeons and my top 18 hated dungeons, you'll see that the hated dungeons is a lot more popular than the favorites, because the internet is kind of geared up to a place or something where, you know what, we want to see things get hated on. We want to see things get excited when so much negativity is going on, and you know what, I admit it too. I do it myself too. Sometimes I go on the internet and I usually like seeing those kind of negative lists or something, just from an objective or fair point of view or something, because I want to see their opinion. I want to see what they make of it, and so I can add that to my own opinion, and I can see whether I can agree and disagree to it. And so I want to talk about something really special. Is that the thing I want to talk about is the Zelda games. It's kind of the flagship series that I've kind of talked about ever since I started up my channel. Is that one of the wonderful things about Zelda or something. I think what makes it such a wonderful series compared to a lot of other series out there is that there seriously isn't a bad game in the series. Like usually Mario or, I don't know, like Sonic or something, sometimes they get a bad game or something like that, but you always notice with the Legend of Zelda series is that it takes them a few years to develop a game. They put a lot of thought into it, just like with this Wii U title that's coming out. And they don't rush it. They take their time and they stick very true to their formula. It's always adventurous, always has items, always has dungeons, and you know what, they can toy with the formula, but in a way it's what makes Zelda so great, because you've got to mix it up a little bit. You got to make side quests more important than some. You got to make the graphics, and they change up their graphics every single time. They change up the dungeons every single time. It's just a spectacle to behold. To just watch these different environments or something. But coming back to the issue I was talking about with the internet is that we kind of hype up these games or something and just kind of start comparing them like side by side or something. But have you ever like asked yourself or something that possibly they could be all just wonderfully, beautifully crafted games or something, just on all fronts or something? It just simply doesn't become a Zelda title for you, because you have to admit, out of like, I think there's like 18 Zelda games now, you have to figure that there isn't one or two games for you, because it switches up its theme every single time, and well, since you're a human being, you're not going to like everything that's going to be put in front of you. That goes for me included, if you check out my top 17 personal Zelda games or something, but you know what? The strange thing is that despite all of the things I've talked about, like with the Zelda games I don't really enjoy that much, which is the original Legend of Zelda, the Wind Waker, and A Link Between Worlds, is that I don't really hate those games. A lot of people probably assumed when they saw that ranking or something is that they probably assumed, oh, you must hate the list or something, but I think I even said it in the countdown myself that it's kind of games that I don't more care about rather than just kind of flat out hating on them, because I can understand where they come from. I mean, they're very still, even though that I'm not a big fan of those games, they're still beautifully structured and well put together games, and that's not something I want to take for granted or anything. So, so the next thing I just wanted to bring up or something is that, well, if there are any Zelda fans that are watching this video, and you know what, well, like, let's look at the least popular Zelda games, which is the Adventures of Link and with Four Swords and Four Swords Adventures or something. Is that a lot of people just kind of say, oh, those are kind of the worst Zelda games or something in the franchise. They're not really building on anything. It loses its linearity in some cases, and it's really hard. It has the side-scroller aesthetic, which isn't found in Zelda games or something. But, you know, if you kind of look back a little bit, if you think a little bit more closely about Zelda's history a little bit, is that those aren't actually bad games at all if you think about it. And if you've caught on already, I'm actually talking about the CDI games. Yeah, you know which one I'm talking about, Wand of Gamelon, and yeah, those three atrocious games or something. And the reason I'm bringing that up is that, you know, one of the funny things about the internet is that the first thing that we do, like first impressions when it comes to Zelda games, is that we automatically think, oh, Adventure of Link is a bad game, and Four Swords and Four Swords Adventures or something. And I rate it like 1 or 2 out of 10 or something, or 3 out of 10 at most or something. But and then the funny thing is that when you start reminding people of the CDI games, then they'll start giving it the -1 or the -2 or something, and say, oh, those are the worst games like ever made or something, like on all fronts or something. Like the gameplay sucks, it's tedious, and in some cases you have to get some really hard items to get, or they're in places where you wouldn't really think about where to get them or anything. If you don't know about that, they're really tedious on that front anyways. But the reason I'm bringing that up is that if you compare those games or something, which one is actually the better game? Is that, well, earlier we called the Adventure of Link and the Four Swords and the Four Swords Adventures games bad games, but as soon as the CDI games came in, all of a sudden, if you tell the internet that, all of a sudden their mind just suddenly swoops around and just say, oh, you know what, maybe those are mediocre games after all. Maybe they're not games for me or something, but at least they're functional, like Adventure of Link and Four Swords and Four Swords Adventures or something. So that's something to appreciate from them, like compared to the CDI games. And so that's actually where I'm actually really grateful that we have the CDI games, so we can actually make those comparisons to what actually makes a wonderful video game, and which ones are mediocre and which ones are actually pretty bad. Like, yeah, one of the funny things is that, yeah, when we look at the CDI games, like, your mind just kind of goes all over the place, and it kind of puts into perspective what makes a really great video game in the long run or something. Like, I'll give you an example. Like, a common criticism that comes from the Zelda games, especially Adventure of Link, is that it has to be a top-down kind of video game in order to qualify it as a good video game or something. But you know, one of the funny things is that if you take a look at the 3 CDI games or something, 2 of them were side-scrollers, just like Adventure of Link or something, and the last one, which was Zelda's Adventure, was actually top-down. But you know what's funny is that technically, functionality-wise or something, Zelda's Adventure is actually the worst out of all 3 of them. At which, the funny thing is that with Zelda or something, it's always has to be the top-down in order to qualify as a good Zelda game or something. But if you look at the other gameplay assets of Zelda's Adventure in the process or something, regardless if it was a top-down or something, even though that was faithful to Zelda in that way or something, it's considered one of the, well, in my opinion anyways, it's the worst Zelda game that ever came out today. Like, despite that it even remained faithful to that formula, despite that we were like giving it that criticism that, oh, it has to be a top-down Zelda game in order to qualify as a thing, we now have the worst Zelda game there that followed that particular part of the formula, but the other parts of the gameplay didn't justify it. So you know what the interesting thing is that that gives off the thing that, you know what, maybe the top-down formula doesn't really mean a whole lot or something, like compared to a lot of other gameplay assets or something. Like if you look at Adventure of Link or something, I consider that like way more functional and way more like everything's just like so tight or something in Zelda's an Adventure of Link, because despite that it's a really hard game, and I agree with that with a lot of people, that it can make it unenjoyable for Zelda games or something. You can't deny that that game is still well put together compared to Zelda's Adventure. And even though that has the side-scroller aesthetic and things, and it's not following that particular part of the Zelda formula or something, but still, that part, that gameplay, those other gameplay assets that we weren't taking into consideration earlier, we're still surpassing it. I find that a really interesting thing, because it kind of puts into perspective of what makes a really good video game and what makes a good Zelda game. Do you guys see where I'm going with this? Is that the next time, like when it comes to video games or something, sometimes when we just automatically just go with what the internet says or something, that, oh, Adventure of Link or I don't know, like these other Zelda games are bad or something, but if you take a look at the really bad video games in our history, Superman 64, like let's see, Bubsy 3D, we have, yeah, the Zelda's Adventure and those CDI games or something. All of a sudden, when you look at those other games or something, all of a sudden, if you look at the rest of the Zelda series, they're all really great games. And so, the end result of what this is that that I'm actually going with this is the point I want to make or something, is that we, as Zelda fans, and I don't agree with doing this, I really don't like it when Zelda fans don't do this or something, is that it may be true in everything, you know? We can express our preferences, we can express all sorts of things, like when it comes to Zelda. It's just like different flavors or something for us to enjoy from the Zelda universe and everything, but as is it really justified or something in the end or something to really level any of the Zelda games down to that kind of level or something, like with CDI games and with those worst video games of all time? Do you think it's justified to really hate, like for example, let's say that Oracle of Ages or Oracle of Seasons isn't for you. You consider that those like some of the worst games or something of all time or something. And you know what? There are those on the internet that just kind of sprawl it around or something and say, oh, this is like one of the worst games of all time. This is actually considered a bad Zelda game. And you know that happens, like all throughout the internet. You know that definitely happens. You know, like especially if you compare like the 5 3D Zelda games or something, which is Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, Wind Waker, Twilight Princess, and Skyward Sword. You know that people nitpick those games all the time. And they say, oh, this is bad, and things, you know, the stamina meter from Skyward Sword is bad, and the motion controls are horrendous from Skyward Sword, or I don't know, that long prologue or something from Twilight Princess is a horrible thing, and then the Triforce quest from Wind Waker and everything, you know. But, you know, like, one of the funny thing is that we criticize 3D Zelda games or something so much, and just saying, oh, these are the worst Zelda games out of the entire series. They deserve to be stamped to the ground or something, and say, you know what, these are considered bad video games. I don't consider them mediocre games, I consider them bad video games. And you noticed it like in the comment section, is that it kind of feels like there's a little bit of overhating for these concepts or something, for each of these different Zelda games or something, but is it really worth it? Like, I mean, regardless of what you think about the Zelda games that you don't enjoy from the series or something, they're still very well built. They're very functional, and you know what? They're not buggy. They're not glitchy. They don't cause problems. They don't cause any game-breaking bugs, and they change up their graphics every single time. At which, if you look at other series like I don't know, I guess Call of Duty franchise or something, where they kind of build on the same engine or something, it's like, I don't know, like. So, like, the reason I made this video is that the next time, like, when you look at a Zelda game or something, it may be true. Like, I've talked about Zelda games and things in the past about which ones I don't really enjoy or something, you know, or the ones that I don't prefer to play or something, but that doesn't mean that I'm going to, like, scoot the Zelda game aside and just automatically say that it hasn't left its own impact and its brilliant, a stepping stone, I guess, in Zelda's history and everything. So this is so just as a Zelda fan or something who's kind of grown up like without the internet or something, just, you know what, don't really buy into the negativity or anything when it comes to Zelda games or something. Is that they're still, like, if you compare it to, like, I just don't think it deserves the criticisms or anything of like being listed as really horrible video games or something. It might be mediocre by your standards or something, but I think there really is a big difference between what you call a bad video game and just a video game that isn't for you.